Hello and welcome along to the West Yorkshire Football Show. We're here to give a full breakdown and a full assessment of the Leeds United squad as the Premier League finishes. And we're just left now looking at the squad, discussing what we're going to do with the players that are here. Should they go? Should they stay? Should we loan them out? Do they make part of a bigger squad? So we're going to go through each player. The loan players don't get away with it as well. I've got their list as well. So I'll be getting Jason's take on what we need to do with them as well. If you're watching along with us live, get your comments in. Let us know what you think of each player as we go through it. Make sure you like the video and get subscribed to the channel. And if you're watching this again later as well, get your comments in. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Please let us know. Yes, Jason. So we've got to go through the entire squad. And this is a video that I've longed to make now that Premier League safety was assured a few weeks ago, and it's nice to kind of cast our eye over the squad, and it gets you thinking about those players in the squad as well, those ones that might be a little bit in between, and yeah, it's just a nice thing to be able to do, and hopefully, you know, we can share our opinion on it, and hopefully people will agree with it, but that's what it's there for. It's good to do, though, isn't it? It's one of them videos fun to make after you've had a nice survival season.
Yeah, it's always a fun one to do, and it can feel a little bit like a little bit treacherous because, but it's just the dynamic and the nature of football, isn't it? You know, the season finishes, all that amazing work that they've done. Right, okay, thank you, but now we're on the next season. Like, who's good enough? Who needs to be sold? You know. Yeah. Who's going to be on the bench, like, you know what I mean? And it kind of becomes, it just becomes a conveyor belt of footballer. But I'm already excited at the thought of what the team will look like on the opening day of next season. I'll never forget the kind of disappointment that flushed over me the year that we didn't build on the start under Marcelo that we'd had in the Premier League. And, you know, we went in that season 2 with Junior Firpo, Dan James and Christopher Clarkson, and it didn't feel any different, did it? You know, I remember, it felt worse. You know, I'd kind of maintained from the off that Junior Firpo was a downgrade on Alioski. And I think it kind of proved that was the case as well. And so we actually didn't improve the team. We went backwards. And so, yeah, it's pivotal, it's exciting. And but at the same time, you know, these kind of things, they give us opportunities to mark what's been such a fantastic season for some of the boys as well. They deserve the credit.
Absolutely. Well, let's kick things off. We're going to start with goalkeepers first of all. And the first name on my list here, and it's probably a bit of a discussion point, to be completely honest, it's Lucas Perry. And it's a really interesting place to start, actually, because he came in as you were hoping someone who was going to be your number one for years to come, 28 years of age, good pedigree. His previous manager said he's one of the best goalkeepers in Europe. Comes into the Leeds team and, you know, it's fair to say it was mixed. Eventually lost his place to Carl Darlow. Got some redemption through the FA Cup performances. And it's a real tricky one. It's a bit of a head scratcher with this one, Jay, because he has lost his place, but adapting to the English League, could this be could Perry season 2 actually be worth it? It's a real interesting debate in terms of the goalkeepers in general, but Lucas Perry in particular, Jay, what would you be looking to do with him? Is there enough there that you've seen that you give him another go, or look, if you get a decent fee for him, you just cut your losses and get rid and try and get somebody else?
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because we've seen several examples throughout the Premier League of exactly how an incoming keeper that doesn't hit the ground running gets threat. We've seen it at Forest particularly. I mean, they've been through 7 or 8 goalkeepers in 3 seasons. Yeah. They're not right. They get moved on. And that is the brutality of the Premier League. We've seen it a little bit with Arsenal. You know, Ramsdale came in. I've never been a fan of his, but he was brought in to be their number one. He didn't do the business. He got ousted by Raya within pretty much no time. They were both kind of then being told they were both number ones. That didn't really exist. And before you know it, Ramsdale was gone. Ramsdale then again, he's gone to Newcastle. I think he would have been expected to be number one at the beginning of the last season. Nick Pope got back in. Ramsdale's now not being signed. Nick Pope's getting moved on, and Newcastle are going to replace both of them. So it's a real interesting one with the goalkeeper. Manchester United are another great example. had a real hard time with Onana. They went through a few different keepers. They ended up signing Lemons at the beginning of last season, I think it was. And he ended up. Oh, got echo. Is that me?
Oh, I can't hear anything.
All right, I don't know if that was just for a moment. Or... yeah, it's gone now. So the goalkeeping position, wherever you are, is so vital. So vital. I mean, we saw how many points we ended up losing as a consequence of Meslier being in the headspace that he was only, 18 months ago. So yeah, it's a real tricky one. For Lucas Perry, I personally think there's a road back for him, but I think it matters more what Daniel Farke thinks. If Daniel Farke doesn't have the confidence in him anymore, I think it's pretty evident that he wasn't his first choice. I think that's pretty clear from what we've seen through the media. I also think it's clear in the way that Daniel Farke's treated him. I rate Daniel Farke and I rate his man management skills, but I didn't like the way that he handled that whole situation. I didn't like how quickly he were bombed out. Given, I didn't think the level of mistakes were that high. I remember people giving him absolute pelters about the Newcastle goal. I didn't think that was his fault at all. I don't think he'd have been expected to save that when it comes through a body of players and it's right out of his reach. He definitely had mistakes, but all keepers have mistakes. So it's tricky. If we can get in and around the money that we paid for him and then we're signing somebody that is going to be first choice, then sure. I don't believe, and I know you're going to come on to Caldalo, I don't believe that we can go into this season with the idea that Caldalo's our number one and Lucas Perry's our number two. I think that doesn't make any sense. You're then having a depreciating asset who's at a good age on the bench, not getting game time, depreciating in quality and value, while you've then got a number one that's a 36-year-old previously backup number two goalkeeper in the Championship. And I think Carl's done great, but I'd be really concerned personally if that were going to be the route that we'd go down. It just don't make any sense.
No, I know what you mean, because in the Athletics piece the other day, and it was like, it's a bit of a head scratcher for the team.
Yeah.
According to sources, it's a little bit like they're a little bit unclear what to do, and I think the value of him is important. I think you make a really good point there. If a decent enough offer comes in, I think maybe you should pull the trigger and get it done. However, if you don't get those offers in, is there a case that those two battle it out for another season, right? I don't know if chopping and changing is the best thing you should be doing with a keeper, but yeah, it's a little bit of a tricky one.
If we start the season with the two of them next season, I think Lucas Perry has to be the number one.
Yeah.
He has. If them two are still at the club as it is this season, you have to give him another opportunity. If you don't see him as being value for that opportunity, then you have to sell him now. And then you look to get another alternative. So it's a tricky one, because what would I do and what I think the club will do will end up being, I think, very different. But I personally would probably look to reintroduce him. I do think he's got solid attributes. I think his stature, size. I thought his kicking was all right. I thought his control. The big issue with Lucas Perry was the spatial awareness between ball over the top. That was the biggest concern that we had, and that was what Darlow really addressed. I don't think there's that much between them in terms of shot stopping. Darlow really grew into it at the back end of the season, was making some real top saves, at key times as well. So I feel a bit hard. If Darlow were 25, I'd be having a completely different conversation about Carl Darlow, but he's going to be 36. And I think we should keep him. I think we should give him a 2-year deal and keep him as number two, maybe, like what we had this season. If because recruitment's never guaranteed. Another keeper could come in. Trafford could come in and have an absolute bomb. He could have a stinker. It's the way that it goes sometimes in football. So you still need to have a number two that you can rely on. You don't want a number two situation where you're like, oh God, we can't play him because he's that bad. Yeah. So that Darlow would be great, and I think he deserves more than a year. Give him a couple of years and make him feel valued for what he is, because he certainly is valued. He's played way more games for Leeds United, I think, than we ever expected. So yeah, it's a head scratcher. I can understand why the club are with it. Yeah,
it's a real difficult one. I think it's almost like you have to wait and see what is coming in for him. I mean, I'm checking his market values around 10 million. Well, we know that's a loss already, but it's that kind of thing. Can you go into next season with this kind of not sure who's your number one and that kind of thing? Fascinating. Let's move on then. Obviously, Meslier is still on this list. We know he's now gone.
Just on that, do you tend to agree with that kind of way of thinking?
I don't know. I would be open to seeing them two battle it out for another season potentially. I think Perry, his positional plays is so poor at times, and I agree with you. I don't think he made any massively bad blunders. I don't think his kicking is all that bad. I think his shot stopping's good. His positional play absolutely scares the life out of me. I mean, the West Ham FA Cup, he's just in no man's land. The game against Liverpool at Anfield, I mean, he was all over the place, all over the shop. You know, he really worried me on positional. But it's like Darlow with his kicking, he's improved so much. If Perry gets that positional right, you know, positional play up, there could still be something there. I'm tempted, rather than spending a load of money on another goalkeeper, if maybe you keep them two battling for the role, I could potentially see possibly that. It's really hard, though. It's really hard because if Farker doesn't really believe in him, you know, what does that say? Do you know what I mean?
Tactically, you have to give Lucas Perry a little bit of a grace period is probably the wrong way of putting it, but that's the kind of thing that I'm trying to say. You know, he probably wasn't used to having to cover that kind of ground. You know, and if it's an instructional thing of a sweeper keeper, then it takes a bit of time to get used to that. And, you know, Darlow Darlow commits, doesn't he? Whenever the ball's coming over, if you know there's a 50-50, Darlow's going to come with it. Kiko Casilla had the same issue. Kiko Casilla had exactly the same issue. And that's because these keepers that are in, you know, top European squads, they don't have to deal with that very often. No. The defenders are capable of dealing with that. They have so much control of the ball. They don't really get counter-attacked on in that kind of way very often. So Darlow was just simply used to it, whereas Perry just wasn't. But there is another issue with Perry in that he doesn't close that space down when a striker's coming at him very well either. It's one of Melier's best attributes. He was very, very good at that. Darlow's all right at it, but it never feels like he would. If Melier had somebody one-on-one with him, it always felt like he was going to save them chances. Melier's big problem was anything that was at distance and then crosses, everything else. Everything else other than that attribute, it was a bit of a bomb scare with. So yeah, anyway, we need to move on because I know the time's going to be tricky, but I think this is probably going to be the most difficult position to kind of be like, what should we do? What shouldn't we do? I think we'll agree with nearly everything else. So,
you've got a limited budget as well, haven't you? And it's a real head scratcher, absolute head scratcher. Yeah. I think we're both on the same page with Darlow. Then keep. I think even 2-year contract, and because he can, like you say, I mean, Leeds might take us going through 3-4 number ones before we hit on the one. It's perfect if you've got a Darlow who can come in. If it doesn't go right with the number one, perfect. Now, the question mark is he going to want to live that life? You know, if he gets a good offer elsewhere for first team football, makes it a little bit tricky, but ideally, keeping.
Yeah, I made the example of Forest. I mean, Forest have been through 3 number ones this season. You know, so it's a difficult one with the goalkeeper because you don't substitute them out to see game time during the game in the same way that you do with the players. You can't get them into the side in the same way. So I think Darlow would be happy with a 2-year deal and potentially going back to be number 2. I can't imagine that he would grumble with that too much, but maybe he would as well. Maybe he's expected after the season he's had to be number 1. You know, if West Ham are a great example, or even Burnley, if either of them were to have a goalkeeper change this season, Darlow would be the perfect replacement. Yeah. You know, he's shown himself to be a serious top goalkeeper now, hasn't he? So, it'll be an interesting one to see what happens.
Yeah, indeed. We don't have to spend too much time on this. Alex Cairns, I mean, you just keep him, wouldn't you?
He's around,
and he's good for morale, isn't he? He seems to get on with all the boys, and he's
a banner buff, isn't he?
Yeah, totally. You can tell in all the videos, can't you, as well? It's just good. So, yeah, definitely keep him around.
I caught a little clip of him on the Ellen Rowe podcast with, I think he was with Sam Byram. Yeah. And it was clear that he was obviously happy with where he was, but he had this opportunity to come back and fill this role. And it's almost like they had to interview the character with him because that's what it's all about. And I think he's been great for Leeds. And the full circle from that terrible debut against Blackpool when he had to come into that situation when Chubka got hooks at like 25, 30 minutes or whatever it was. It's a hell of a story, isn't it? I come back.
Yeah, and there's quite a few, isn't there, that seem to be coming back home. Moving on then to defence. First one on my list. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest talking points again this summer. Pascal Struijk, contract expiring in a year. Jay, someone who I think we had our doubts about, which we've talked a lot about, but I think we both understand he's had a really strong year, particularly in that back three on that left-hand side. It just works. I think he's been fantastic this season. He has a lot going for him. He's at 8 years at Leeds, remarkably, so he counts for all the homegrown stuff. You know, if another Premier League team signs him, he ticks their homegrown quota as well. British trained player between 18 and 21 and all that stuff. So he's an attractive signing. He's 26, great age, just about to hit his peak, you would say. Contract is vulnerable as well. Teams will know that they can really squeeze Leeds a little bit here. And it really depends on what Leeds want to do in this situation. I mean, this is your classic where if you don't act, if you don't decide, you could get punished by someone like that leaving in a free in a year. And we're not in a position to let players of that quality go for free. We can't do that. You know, if he's not willing to sign a new contract, you have to get rid of him. Oh, yeah. But in terms of his kind of position in the squad, you know, I think I would have probably been more in favour of us selling him 12 months ago than I am now a little bit. But for me, it's definitely about if he does not sign a contract, if he doesn't commit, or if the club see an opportunity to make some value and, you know, it's maximum profit, all that kind of thing, then I think he's got to go. But as a player, I would love that continuity, absolutely. And, you know, that left centre-back role, it's a little bit specialised, isn't it? You know, so you don't want to lose that either. But what say you?
I saw somebody mention the other day, I thought an interesting kind of circle of events might start taking place, because there was this situation with Spurs have always had kind of flirted with an interest with Pascal Struijk, and they've then signed, they've signed a centre-back.
Oh, Senesi, aren't they?
They've signed Senesi. I think that they're also looking at
Van Heck. For like a ridiculous fee. I saw like 40 or 50 million for Van Heck.
Crazy,
like, really?
It's funny with Van Heck.
They don't learn Spurs, do they? They don't learn.
Every time I see Van Heck play as well, he makes a massive mistake.
Yeah.
I know he's had a good season. He must be a good player, but every time I see him, he makes a huge mistake. Yeah. They kind of finished off with that one against Leeds. But it could be a circle of events, because I can imagine Brighton selling a Van Heck and then replacing him with a Pascal Struijk. It feels like a Brighton signing, would that? It's a real tricky one, because you're right. A year ago, if somebody had said to me, look, we're going to sell Struijk for 25 million and he's going to help to then rebuild the squad, and it makes perfect sense. I find myself now in a situation where I would love to keep the continuity of that back three. I think it's probably our strongest area of the pitch, as a partnership, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, as a unit.
Yeah, I think there's still improvements in the attacking area. I think there's still improvements within the midfield area as well, even though Ampadu and Stack are such great players. I still think there's stuff to be given there. The full-backs, the wing-back situation, I still think that there's improvements there. While you could obviously go out and sign a Saliba or a Gabriel or whoever, like some of the best centre-backs in the world, I feel like that back three has got the capability for where we want to be to keep growing with us and really solidify us as a strong... Right now, defensively, it feels like he's where our biggest strengths are. So I don't want to see that broken up. At the same time, if I had to look at one of our big boys potentially being sold to make that financial situation easier, I would still probably gravitate towards Pascal Struijk over everybody else. You know, and when I'm saying everybody else, I'm talking about Anton Stack, I'm talking about Ethan Ampadu, obviously is not going to go now. Even Joe Rodon I'd put in at that bracket. Dominic Calvert-Lewin I'd put in at that bracket. So it's a real tricky one. It all comes down to the contract. I would imagine if the contract isn't signed this week, I think there's a problem. Yeah. Because we know that they've acted quickly. Ethan's done. It was done beginning of last week now. That's it. If it's not done by the end of this week, with only a year left on his deal, everybody's starting to talk about it and knows that it's there. Bear in mind, he's not away on international duty or anything either. There's something going on there that he maybe isn't where the club are or the club are where he is. Something's going on. So, yeah, it's a bit of a liquid one, that, isn't it? It's going to be seeing movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he's been at the club 8 years, so you couldn't blame him for maybe wanting to try something else. Talking about those other centre-backs there, I mean, for me, this man, just an absolute rock, fantastic player, especially that middle of the back three. Jacoby, first signing, I think, last summer, or one of the first signings. No-brainer for me. He is an absolute rock. I mean, you just build around him, don't you? I just think absolutely he's staying 100%. It'd have to be somewhat ridiculous for him to go in my head.
He's the best of the three for me.
Yeah.
He's the best of the three. I think he shows his full range of attributes within a back three. I think the other two have got capabilities of both playing in a back four. I worry a little bit more with Yak. I'm sure he can, but everything that we've seen of Jacoby has been good in a three and not so good in a two. Maybe he just weren't up to speed. We don't know. The only question mark that I have over Biol is he spends too much time out with Knox and Nichols. Pascal this season's been free from injuries, which has been great. He usually misses 10 games-ish. Biol's missed one too many through little Knox and Nichols, but it's hard to lay too much criticism at his door for that. I love watching him. I think he's so composed. I think Pascal and Joe, for that matter, can at times both have kind of like bomb scare moments where they're a little bit flustered. Yakaro always looks composed. He always gets his body in the way. I love watching him play football. So yeah, absolute keep, mate.
Yeah. Joe Rodon then obviously mentioned there. He's 28 now, Joe, and he's been an absolute stalwart alongside Ampadu for years. Absolutely love what he brings in terms of fight mentality. Never gives up. You talk about injury record. He's got a near perfect injury record. We saw him get absolutely mauled in that Sunderland game, and somehow probably it wasn't wise to come back as quickly as he did. I know he had a couple of dodgy moments after he came back so quick, but I mean, he's just an absolute rock of this team, and not someone you would ever want to see leave. I mean, for me, he strikes me now he's kind of locked in for Leeds now for the next few years. I think it makes sense to just stick with Joe, and he's just part of the foundations, isn't he?
It can kind of sound sentimental at times, and I still think it's nice that we can have a little bit of that. I'd like to see Joe build a career at Leeds like Luke Ayling, like Stuart Dallas. Some of these that have come, they're not Leeds boys, but they've come in, they've got us, we've got them, and they finish the career here, or the best parts of the career ends up being a Leeds United. I'm not looking at any return on a Joe Rodon. There'll be a time where Joe maybe gets to 31, 32, and he becomes our fourth choice centre-back. That's fine. But I would love to see that. Again, he's one of the first names on the team sheet for me, and I always know that the team's secure. It reminds me very much of Luke Ayling. When Luke Ayling was in his pomp, obviously completely different players, but in terms of what he gives us on the pitch, like he kind of just feels like one of us out there, doesn't he? You know what I mean? So yeah, rate him. And clearly, I don't take too much of the promotional content, but the promotional content that came out for this shirt, them players that were picked to do that, they're clearly not going to go anywhere in this window. You'd be very shocked if they were. So I don't see any movement for Joe Rodon anywhere. No.
An interesting one, Sebastian Bornau. My take on it is, unless you get an offer above what we paid for him, I would personally keep him. I think he's been almost like a perfect bench option. He's not good enough to ever really get the first team spot, and it feels hierarchical, and it's good that there's somebody there who it's clear that he's the option off the bench, or when someone's suspended or injured. I think you need that as part of your squad. I thought he was very good when he came in, and I think unless it's like a Glenn Kamara situation where you met money on it, there doesn't seem to me any point in getting rid. So I'd be happy to see Bornau stay, to be honest.
I think he's a hugely underrated part of the recruitment that we did. Recruiting the right players for the right roles within the squad is really, really tricky. When you sat down and having a conversation with Sebastian Bornau and you're saying, right, you're going to move over from Germany, you're going to move your family over here and everything, but you're not going to play every week. Like, how many players are going to be okay with that being the conversation? But, it depends on where he is in his career. Obviously, he'd had injuries as well. He had a relationship with Daniel Farke, which obviously mattered. He got game time, and when he did everything that could have been asked of him, and I thought he did it really well. It'd be interesting to see if there was an injury to Joe Rodon, like a long injury,
and he was to be playing week in, week out, what that would look like and how it would feel. Because I think he's got levels to his game, Sebastian now. He's clearly a decent footballer.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to kind of see what he could go on to. And maybe that'll come a point, you know, same as Lucas Mecha. Mecha's probably in that similar kind of camp as well, where they're going to want to start starting games after recovering over a season or two from injury situation. So, but I'd keep him 100%. There's absolutely no value in selling him and not having that reliable option in the background, especially when you don't have the youth that we just don't have it right now. You know, like if you have, as I saw somebody on another stream the other day saying like, oh, Daniel Farker hates playing academy graduates and you know, he don't give youth the chance. But what if the youth's just not good enough? That's the truth. The very best of our academy right now is probably Harry Gray, and he wasn't really good enough at bottom of League One last season. So this is where we're at. Now the club need to do something with that to make sure that there's a more of a conveyor belt of talent coming through. And while it's not there, you need to rely on the likes of Sebastian now. So yeah, he's very much a big part of the squad for me.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few here we can kind of rattle through. Gabby Goodmanson, excellent signing, absolute bargain. For me, hopefully the left back over the next 3 years, certainly 27, great age. For me, it'd have to be a special offer for him to go. Yeah,
I agree, and I think he will. I think he will be somebody that's maybe sought after at the end of this coming season. You know, if he has another good season in the Premier League, he's going to attract a lot of attention. I think he's Gabby, because wing backs in that kind of mould, the few and far between, really, especially left footers. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one. But yeah, 100% start wait for Gabby.
Yeah, on the other side, we've then got Jayden Bogle. And God, I mean, fantastic to have them two as wing-backs when you see so many clubs, particularly Man United, struggle to get wing-backs, and we kind of nailed it straight away. Jayden Bogle adjusted well to the Premier League, and he's only 25. There's still improvement left there. Some rumours about him in January transfer window. But again, I mean, if you were to lose him, how much have you got to spend to fill that slot?
Yeah, well, it depends on the quality of your recruitment, doesn't it? Because you go through that process again, and you then need to try and find somebody of a younger age to kind of come through and then produce that. You know, the Premier League's full of random talent from all over the world, which clubs have obviously identified and got. You know, look, the two that come to my mind, and I hate to mention him because of what he's got going off the pitch at the minute, but Jimenez at Bournemouth and Coyote at Brentford. They're both two great examples of wing backs that have come from basically nowhere. The casual fan just would never have heard of them, but these clubs have identified them, gone out and made them signings, and they will then go on to be 50, 60, 70 million pound worth of players once Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester United, Chelsea, Man City are ready to buy them players. That's the way that football works, isn't it? Like they kind of have the progression and evolution at a club that's a little bit further down the pyramid, and then it goes on. So Jayden Bogle's in a bit of an interesting position for me. He is probably second to Pascal if I want to entertain this conversation of we need to sell a player to fund reinvestment within the squad. He's probably the second choice because he's at an age of where we'd get good value.
Yeah,
and he has got more to his game. He has got potential, but he's also replaceable. I like Jayden Bogle a lot. I really like him, and I think again he gets us, and he's really adapted well to being a Leeds player. But I'm open to the knowledge that we're probably going to have to sell one or two over the next few years. So where do we start looking at to do that? And Jayden Bogle would probably be right up there for me. So it'd still be a keep and play. Obviously, it'd be a starting player, but again, if there's a 30, 35, maybe even 40 million for Jayden Bogle, English, good age, you'd have to entertain it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Next on the list, James Justin. I think he came in and defied expectations to be kind of the new Stuart Dallas, filling in left, centre, right, wherever you plopped him, he always did a fantastic job. He's 28. He's got 3 years left on his contract. For me, he's a squad player. Arguably, could he start? I think in the absolute best version of this Leeds United team, he doesn't start for me. But he's someone who I think he's his role has been so vital this year that you just think, God, what a piece of recruitment. Because if we hadn't had just James Justin this year, we'd have really struggled at points with the wing backs, injuries and centre backs and everything like that. Just a phenomenal utility player. And I don't think any teams will be banging the door down for him this summer. I wouldn't have suspected. So for me, it's a keep. It's a no-brainer.
I think you kind of sell him short a little bit, if I'm honest with you, mate. Like, not in an horrible way, because I get exactly what you're saying. I think he started so many games because of his versatility, because he can go from right back to left back to right centre back or wherever we need to play him. I think if everybody were fully fit all season, I think it'd have been really good value to play over Jayden Bogle this year. Yeah, I do. I think James Justin was so good when he started playing. I can't really think of a bad performance from him. And I think there were a period, especially second half of the season, where Jayden Bogle the levels dropped a bit. And I was actually completely content with James Justin starting at right back or right wing back. So I think it's a keep without a shadow of a doubt, and he will end up starting games because of the manner of the football. Players get injured and you need to play. He's 28, which is an unbelievably good age. He's basically at his prime at the minute. And I think he's just got that leadership that this kind of squad needs. It needs that kind of experience. So for me, it's a hard keep. But you're right. There ain't going to be many teams that are going to be banging the door down to snatch him away from us. He's not got that kind of appeal to him. And he's probably the wrong side of that age with the injuries in the background. So... it makes perfect sense. But again, great recruitment.
Yeah, fantastic. An absolute no-brainer, this one. And we had the good news about him last week. The captain, Ethan Ampadu, and it's great to see. Signed up till 2030, lockdown. He's our man. He's not going anywhere. We're not going to entertain offers. He wants to stay. Case closed.
Yeah, thankfully we don't really need to talk much about him. We waxed the lyrical about the contract and everything over the last week or so. Great that he's there, and hopefully, in a year's time, we've built on top of what we've done so far to kind of stay with where he's at. And, the bids that would have to come in a year's time would need to be north of 60, 70 million quid.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And his midfield partner, Anton Stack, an incredible signing for Leeds, less than 20 million. Goals, physicality, everything you'd want. Now he's almost someone you could imagine your European teams going in for, paying big money. The question is, would Leeds be tempted to do it? We've talked previously about, could he be someone that another team tries to get out now? Contract wise, we're in a great position. 3 years left on that contract, obviously only signed last year. We would be in a place to... the fee that we could command for this guy now, you don't give goals from midfield away cheaply. You don't give that kind of physicality in the Premier League away cheaply. So, again, for me, he's an absolute keep. But if it was a mega offer, who knows? But it'd have to be a mega offer for me.
Yeah. Set piece taker as well.
Set piece chance creator.
And he's the physical... epitome of a professional midfielder now, the professional football midfielder, massive, 6'4", strong, great runner, fast. Like, there's just so much to love about Anton Stack. And for me, he'd go right into Bayern Munich's team tomorrow. Yeah. I really think he would. So I think there'll be a lot of suitors for him, whether there'd be anybody prepared to pay the money that it'd take. Because I think even right now, I think Leeds wouldn't entertain anything less than 50. Which is mental money, really, isn't it? So you're talking 60 million before you're going to be then getting him out. So did Paulinho go to Bayern Munich? Or did he go... Where did he go?
He went to Bayern Munich, and Spurs got him on loan then.
So he had one season at Bayern and then it didn't really work out. You see, we mentioned him a year ago when we signed him, Paulinho, that he was kind of the reference point that I made for the kind of player that he was. He would be kind of... the signing that we would have to get in the other way, maybe. I just use Bayern Munich as a good example because he's German and all the rest of it. So, yeah, keep building. The conversation that we'll have about Anton Stack in a year's time will be very different to today, because if he has another season where he builds on this one, we won't be able to keep on of him.
in my opinion. He'll be 27. It'll be a prime age to go and progress on even further and win titles.
I want to see us do Brighton money. I want to see us, if we have to sell someone like that, absolutely rinse it.
We need, and I know what you're saying, we need players to be a little bit younger to be able to command that. You know, Brighton were able to kind of do that with some of their players. Caicedo's the perfect example because of the potential for how good they can be. You know, McAllister was probably a little bit older. I'm trying to think of some of the others off the top of me, but I get what you're getting at. But Ben White's another good example of that. Yeah. You know, they all had so much age in front. Even though Anton Sack's not old, he's coming into his prime. If he was 22 and he had the season that he had last season, and then they signed him at 23, it's different because they could look. Brighton could you know, you get what I'm getting at. They can command the potential resale value. You know, even when Chelsea signed Moises Caicedo, they're not thinking about just the fact that they're signing this player for a period of time. They're thinking about maybe selling him on to Real Madrid for 130, 140 million. That makes part of the equation, whereas it wouldn't for a player that's becoming 27, 28.
No, exactly. Moving on then, Ilya Gruev, very interesting one. I think this is slightly hampered by his injury because I think he's out for a long time. So I don't know what kind of suitors there would be. I thought Gruev played a really great part in last season. I have absolutely no problem with keeping him as a squad player, to be honest. I can't imagine with his injury status a team coming in and paying enough for it to make sense at the minute. I mean, he's only got a year left on his deal, so you can possibly argue maybe there is a cash-in element. I'm not sure I see a new contract on the horizon for Ilya Gruev, being completely honest. So he's 26.
I think so. He's coming into prime. It's a funny one, isn't it, with Ilya Gruev? I think the likelihood is that if he'd have been fully fit right now, we'd probably be saying sell. Because I think the reality is we need to improve that area of the pitch. We're not going to replace Ampadu. We're not going to replace Anton Stack. Altanaka we'll discuss in a minute. But the improvement level has to come from somewhere. And it comes from the players that are trying to force their way into starting. And Ilya Gruev's one of them. So I think you're right. I think it might be a difficult manoeuvre to kind of move him on. But I would probably be in the realms of, if we can improve that, even if we keep him at the club until the end of next season, we're signing his replacement this window.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get you. Altanaka, very interesting one. He's got a couple of years left on his deal. In and out of the team, mostly out this season, you would say. Signed for a very low fee, 2.5 million or something low, so we know we could, although I guess we PS, you know, it's not PSR anymore, so it doesn't matter as much anymore because it's year by year. Probably someone you could make a decent chunk of money on, but how much does it hurt you losing a player like that? I really, really like watching Tanaka when he's in full flow. He's just a player I enjoy watching. I'm not sure he's fully convinced me at Premier League level in terms of consistency. You know, when you compare it to Ampadu and Stack, you go, yeah, no brainer. I don't know if he's nailed down that other third spot quite yet. Real difficult one. I think it depends on the offer, Jay. I think if the offer is enough now, what is that offer? I mean, transfer market value saying 13 million. I'll be honest, I'd like to see more than that for a player playing in the World Cup and Premier League level. I'd want to see more than 13 million, but I don't know. Tricky one that, Jay. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it would be around 20 million. I think that's the fee that you could probably command for Tanaka right now. The question then comes is, based on what we've seen, who's going to pay 20 million for him? You ain't going to have another. I like Tanaka as well, and I'm in the same position as you. I love watching him play football. But what other Premier League team would pay 20 million to have Tanaka as part of their midfield? They won't. You know, the teams at the bottom would, but you won't be selling them to them, and he wouldn't want to go there.
Yeah.
Would a Brighton, a Brentford, Villa, Newcastle? You know, Newcastle finished 2 points in front of us this season. They had a really poor season. They've got Joe Linton, Tonali, and Bruno Guimaraes in midfield three. They're talking about selling Tonali. Would they replace Tonali without Tanaka? They wouldn't.
No.
They wouldn't. So then you're starting to look on the continent. What teams outside of the top 3 or 4 teams, your Bayern Munich's, your PSG's, Real Madrid's, Barcelona's, have got 20 million quid to spend on a midfielder that hasn't proved himself at top level?
No.
So you were basically answering his own question. Like, there ain't anywhere to really sell him to. So it's a real tricky one with Tanaka. I would probably keep him as part of the squad, but I would expect us to probably, unless he kicks on and develops and shows a different level to his game this season, I would expect him to end up being fourth choice centre midfielder again. Behind Ampadu, Stack, and then another.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm on board with that.
Very interesting one, a lightning rod for a number of seasons now. Brendan Aronson, 25 years of age, 1 year left on his deal. I think that's a really important factor to this. Had probably his best season in a Leeds shirt this season. Tricky one. That year just left on his contract there. I mean, his transfer market value here, it's saying 22 million. 22 million bid came in for Brendan Aronson. Would you take it?
Yeah, obviously, yeah. But there ain't going to be a 22 million pound offer within a year. Not given what he's been.
Not football manager, is it?
No, I mean, everybody knows that watches this show. I love Brendan Aronson. I think he gets such a hard kind of time from the fan base. I think, as you put it, he's a lightning rod, but I think he's given so much more. I say to you all the time, I watch highlights all the time, and it pops up all the time in moments where people just forget. They just completely forget that he was the player that laid on the path. There was one, I think it was the Nottingham Forest at home. He plays a lovely 1-2 and a little bit of trickery with James Justin. James Justin has a shot, he comes back to him, and then he crosses it to Noah Okafor. Yeah. Them little moments people just forget because he wasn't, the man that provided the assist, if you like. So, yeah, I think it doesn't make sense to sell him. I think he's also happy being part of the squad. He's not going to expect to start week in, week out. He can play in multiple positions. I think later on into the game, I think he gives us something that nobody else can really give us within this squad. His statistics for his ground covered this season trump anybody in the whole division. He's at a good age, 25. He's going to a World Cup this year. Personally, I'd get him on a new contract as soon as possible. Get him signed to a new 3 or 4 years.
That's the question mark, isn't it? The contract,
because if there's any hesitation there, an offer comes in, you might have to take that money.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be talking 10 to 15 million max with a year left on his deal, and that'd be probably good business. So yeah, in that world, if an offer comes in and he's not interested in staying, but all the noise sounds like he's interested in staying. He's part of the promotion. Every time he gets promotion, I'm talking promotional content, not promotional. In terms of from the Championship. He talks glowingly about Leeds. He talks glowingly about the fans. He sounds settled here. I think moving was a hard thing for Brendan to do. He seems like a bit of a home bird. He's just got married as well, which I think does make part of the conversation. I'm guessing the family are going to be happy over here. Him and his missus. So I can imagine him playing a really important role again within the squad. So I'd get him signed up to a new contract, and it'd be a great bench option for me.
Yeah,
I'd like to see him. I think those defensive numbers are ridiculous. Like, you can't easily replace that.
And I think he's contributed a lot.
The other side, bench option for me. I'd be happy with that. Manu did make a big impact. Noah Okafor, again, signed for less than 20 million. He's improved his stock, I think. Still question marks over fitness, but no doubt there's quality there. For me, definitely in the squad now. Where I'm at with it is because of the fitness concerns a little bit. I'm wondering if we need to bulk up that side of the pitch again as well, just to make sure. Because when Noah Okafor's not there, it seemed to be kind of Metcher drifting out and in that position. And if we're going to improve the quality, I think we need a bigger bang, don't we, for us book on that side. But Noah Okafor, what say you?
Well, the conversation about the position it doesn't come down to Noah Okafor, does it? It comes to some of the other players that we'll talk about in a minute. But the situation with Noah is 100%. He is a man that I want to see carry on at Leeds. I think in another year's time, you could be looking at a situation where a big team would potentially look at 2 years at Leeds for Noah Okafor. He's built himself back up. His fitness is now proved. His numbers are looking good, and you could look at some serious money for Noah Okafor. Right now, there isn't going to be a huge demand for him. There would be. He's a good player. But what are we talking about money-wise? What, 35 million? No, thank you. That'd be the kind of conversation, because you wouldn't entertain anything less than 30 million for Noah, given what we paid for him. So, he keep, and we look to build on him, and then maybe, we come to some of the other positions, because I think what we really need for Noah Okafor is to not panic when he's not in the team, and that is what we were doing last season.
Absolutely, 100%. Now, someone who can play in that position. That was kind of his position when he first came to club, Willie Gnonto. He's been here 4 seasons or something now. It's incredible. He's got a couple of years left on his deal, but he's not, at the top of Daniel Farke's list. I think for me, the time has come now to kind of take our money for Willie. There's lots of rumours about different clubs and everything. I just think sometimes it gets to a point where we've just got to kind of cut it a little bit. And I think, for me, if there was any season where he was actually going to get game time and, prove himself to manager, was going to be where we were light in attack. And yet it's not happened. It's not happened in a season like that. If we're going to improve the attack, he's lower down the list. For me, let's make our money.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just don't think he's good enough.
Yeah.
I think that it's harsh. I think he shows moments, and he is still young. We do need to remember that. It feels like we've had him so long that he now shouldn't be young, but he still is. I think he's the youngest player in the whole squad.
Yeah, he's 22. Yeah, he is.
So,
long way.
Yeah. So it seems harsh, but I don't ever see him getting to the level of which we're going to need to progress to properly compete with Noah Okafor. People that say like, there's not a big drop off between Okafor and Gnonto. You're kidding yourself. You're lying to yourself. It's like saying that there's not a big drop off between Dan James and Noah Okafor. There's a massive, massive drop off. So for me, I would 100% look to cash in. The biggest problem with Willie Gnonto is from what I understand, we've got a 50% sell-on clause to I forget where he was. Where were he? In Switzerland.
Where the hell was he?
We were in
Zurich or something, though.
Zurich, yeah, see Zurich on it. So yeah, apparently because we got him for next to nothing. I think with 2.8 million that we signed up with Willie Gnonto for. We apparently agreed to a 50% sell-on clause, which causes a big problem because
what stupid.
Well, even if you get 20 million, you're only getting 10. So it's rough, innit? So that's why we've not sold him before now. If I'm honest, I think that they're very much. I agree. Yeah, I think
he's had enough chances.
Would have entertained the conversation a lot more when Everton were putting 30 million up for him if it hadn't been for that sell-on clause. So we shall see, but we need to improve that side of the pitch. We absolutely do.
Yeah, you mentioned him just there. Next on the list, Daniel James. For me, I would prefer to see Dan James go now. I think he's had enough chances in the Premier League. Fulham, Leeds previously. Injury record's not great, always has big injuries. I just don't think he's good enough as a Premier League attacker. And I know him as a person, I think he's a great kind of person and personality in the way he fits in with everyone, that Welsh contingent, all that good stuff. But for me, you have to be ruthless. The problem is for me, I don't know what suitors he would have and what kind of money you would expect for him. I think you'd probably have to sell him a little bit lower than you would like. I would prefer him to go and to massively upgrade the technical ability of a person in that position on the right wing. For me, I would be happy for James to go.
Yeah, I'd argue that the right side of the attack or the midfield, however you kind of want to word it, is probably the most key position for this window.
Yeah.
When you're looking at everywhere else, we have got quality and we can build on that quality. DJ is in that realm of not good enough for the Prem, too good for the champ. It's a shame. I think this season's been really, really unfortunate for him because he was brilliant in the Championship
last season.
I felt like he really did have an opportunity to stake a claim as a Premier League player this year. He started the season off, but then got injured, and he's spent pretty much the whole season injured. So it's kind of left himself in a no man's land of who needs him. The big question and the big problem that we're going to have is who's going to put the money up for him.
Nobody in Brown. Well, maybe a promoter team or bottom end league team. Maybe that's it. CB, DJ is a good Championship player, but not Premier League quality. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Next on the list, Dominic Calvert-Lewin came in for free. We've waxed lyrical about Dom. We won't spend too long because we are running out of time, but came on a free. I guess the only thing would be is if you got a massive offer for a player you've signed on a free, but then to replace him, what a headache that would be.
You couldn't replace him.
No.
You couldn't. You know, people don't realise just how lucky we got last year, and the club had so much faith in him and the medical team and all the rest of it to see that deal be the value of it was. But yeah, we'd sell him for 40 million and then instantly be into a situation where we won't be able to replace him for any less than that. So it's a hard keep. I don't see that needing any conversation. Really.
No. Joe Peru. Paul Peru, I mean, what a torrid season it's been for him, really. For me, no-brainer. Let's make some money on him this season. I don't know how much, I don't know who, but make some money on him. He's got to go. He's not good enough for what we want in the Premier League up front.
No, it's not. And I think, you know, we had a bit of a back and forward about it, didn't we, in the group with the other lads, and they were saying, oh, you won't be able to get, you know, you'd be looking at getting more than 10 million for Peru. I disagree. I still think at Championship level, top of the Eredivisie maybe as well, there'll be a high demand for Peru. He's been fully fit for a year. He's kind of lost a year of wear and tear against his body. He'll be fit and raring to go. I fully expect to see him at the top end of the Championship next season. West Ham would be a great signing for West Ham because they're just going to feed him the ball unlimited amount of times and he'll score. So yeah, and I hope, you know what, I really hope he goes on and kicks on. I really hope we see him back in the Premier because I really like him.
It's only got a year as well.
Yeah.
Deal. So yeah, it's an interesting one. CB there, Peru, very good Champo striker indeed. Last one in terms of the squad list then, Lucas Mecha came in, made a fantastic impact as well for a free transfer, scored some vital goals. Has only got a year left on his deal as well. Is it a quick turnaround sale, get some money banked? Again, though, it's another position you have to, you know, fill, especially if you're selling Peru as well. I like Mecha. I think he's made a fantastic impact. I would probably be tempted to keep him, maybe get another year on that deal or so.
I think it's a no-brainer to keep him. We don't really want to have to sign two strikers. We can't rely on youth, as we said earlier, right now. And you know what? You know, if he ends up leaving in 12 months' time on a free transfer, well, then nothing lost because we signed him on a free transfer anyway. So I think he's clearly happy rebuilding his career back up and his strength, his fitness, his position. Keep him and you know, he can be part of the squad. He can start some games. He'll be happy coming off the bench. He made a massive part of last season, you know. Yeah. That goal against Fulham as an example, real quality. Then goal against Forest, real quality. Penalty, penalties, key penalties scored against Everton on the opening day, you know, when we didn't have Dominic Calvert-Lewin. There's loads to really rate Mecha about, and I think he's actually improved his game this season as well in terms of the way that he then holds the ball up and doing that Dominic Calvert-Lewin role. I think he's improved on that as well. So yeah, top player, good age as well again.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to some of the loanees then that we've got out there in the wider world just before we finish up. Joe Gelhardt, 24 now. Gelhardt, can't believe it. He's got a year left on his deal at Leeds, obviously being on loan at Hull, had a really good season. Is it time to cash in on Joffe?
100%. Yeah.
You know, I can't see any world in which Daniel Farke changes his mind on him. I still think there's a big question mark over what his position is. I certainly think that'd exist if he came back to Leeds. He's not going to displace Calvert-Lewin and he's not going to be second option to Mecha, so he'll end up playing game time out wide as a 10. I think he has to play in the front two, Joe Gelhardt, and most teams don't do that. So I'd be shocked to see him stay. I still think there's huge question marks over whether he's good enough for the Premier League either, which we'll probably see this season. I would take anything from 7 million upwards.
Yeah,
getting gone.
Yeah. Largi Ramazani. It looks like he's coming back. It sounds as if he's bid farewell to Valencia, and like you mentioned before, the problem is a lot of teams don't have the money to do it. He's still got a couple of years left on his Leeds contract. He's 25. What do you do with Largi? Do you suspect it'll be another loan out somewhere, or try and get a fee, or could he be reintegrated?
I doubt it. There just feels like a disconnect between him and Varka anyway. I think if Nonto were to move on and Ramazani was happy to be third choice for either wing, I ain't got a problem with that. I ain't got a problem coming off the bench. But I don't rate him anywhere near as much as what some people do. I think he's had real flashes of moments of quality. Low impact stakes usually when he's made the difference. Yeah. I think of some of his late goals in games and stuff. Scored a great goal away at Cardiff on the break. But I don't know. For me, he was nowhere near as good as Manor Solomon. I don't think he's anywhere near the level of Noah Okafor when Noah Okafor's fully fit. And they're the two kind of references that we've got as the quality that we need to compete at this level. I'd move him on if we could, recoup as much as we can back of that money. And if you have to loan him out again, you loan him out again, personally.
Oh, Jack Harrison. Oh. I mean, it's still got 2 years left on his deal.
70 grand a week.
We can't get rid of this guy. We just can't seem to get rid of him. We send him out on loan and they don't want to buy him. It's crazy. Could this finally be the summer we get a permanent exit for Jack Harrison, or is it just going to be another loan?
The crazy thing is with Jack Harrison, he spent the most of his career on loan. Because bear in mind, he was on loan with us for 3 years. Yeah. And then he's had 2 years at Everton on loan. Then a year at Fiorentina on loan. I know he had an assist in the early days at Fiorentina, and then I don't know if he tried. I never heard anything after that. I mean, he's 28 now? 29? But he's on 70 grand a week and he's got 2 years left. So what would you do?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's about
terminate his contract, is it?
No, I mean that must be 6 million quid. 7 million quid. I'm not great at maths, but it must be in and around that over them 2 years. That's what it's worth to him. What would you do?
Well, it was at Leicester's training ground. It's going to be 25 million we were going to get for him.
I know. Them days ago. And the regression of the footballer is mental. When he came back, I expected us to see an all right footballer. I remember the footballer that played under Bielsa in the Premier League for 2 seasons. Yeah. He blew hot and cold, but he was still capable. I mean, the performances that he had last season, he never looked like he could beat a player. He was so bad. Yeah,
couldn't cross.
It'll be a loan to probably America. Would be my gut instinct feeling with Jack Harrison.
Yeah. Matteo Joseph, the injury obviously he's done his ACL, so he's going to be rehabbing. Can't see anything happening there. Maybe January if he's.
When did he do that?
It wasn't that long ago, March maybe or something.
He's going to be out for pretty much the whole of next season then anyway.
Probably.
So yeah, sure. It'll be January and then he'll be back in 21s. He needs to leave, does Matteo Joseph. He needs to leave. We should have probably sold him when we had the chance, but we didn't. So.
We didn't do it, no. Another one, I mean, similar kind of case to Jack Harrison, or it's turning out that way, Max Verber, who he's had a torrid season, injury-ravaged season on loan at Werder Bremen. His deal expires next year. Could we get a little bit of money in for him? His market value is 3 million on transfer market. Would you take 3 million for Max Verber?
Yeah, it's not been one that's worked. I mean, when he came back to the Championship, I really hoped that he would kick on. And I think if it hadn't been for injuries, I think he'd replace Pascal Struijk at times in the Championship. Yeah. The Championship version of Struijk in comparison. We saw some all right moments. We even managed to score at Ellen Road again, didn't he, Max Verber, after coming back into the team. He ended up playing the pass to Nonto, to Solomon on the final day of the season as well. He still did play a moment, but in comparison to what we thought we'd got when we first signed him, I'll be honest with you, I can already picture now Max Verber has agreed to a contract termination and we won't see Max back in the building this summer. I'd be stunned if he comes back into the building this summer.
Yeah, same. And then the forgotten man, Isaac Schmidt, the last one on our list. Remember that guy? 2 years left on his contract, 26 years of age, has had a better season than Verba, but...
Do you remember everybody saying that he... Do you remember everybody saying that he should start week in, week out? And then we saw him play, didn't we? I can't remember who it was against. And they were like, oh my word, the step down from everybody else to Schmidt. I would imagine he'll move on as well. I don't think he'll be playing back up to nobody. I think Daniel Farke trusts Sam Byram before Isaac.
If you could, ideally, if you consider all those loans, if you could sell those fringe players, how much ideally would you like to get in, like 15 to 20 million for like getting rid of a bunch of them? Would you be happy with that, adding that to the kitty?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to put Joffrey in there and a couple of others. I'm not talking about Perot, Nonto, Dan James. I think them three need to probably be fetching 30 to 40 million.
Yeah.
Between them. They still have some value to them. But yeah, the other fringe players, Joseph, unfortunately, Joffrey, Large, Schmidt, Verba, Jack. You don't get 70
grand for him to go. You know, I'd love it. You know, Fabrizio Romano tweets, Jack Harrison's moving on permanently somewhere else, please. Nothing personal against him. You just want them fringe players gone.
Jack Harrison, I mean, he's never going to leave of his own accord with that amount of money. 70 grand a week.
Can't cross the ball. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, there we go. That is the squad assessment done. So if you're watching along later, please do get comments in. Let us know what you think of the squad. It's going to be a fascinating summer build-up to see what Leeds United do. Myself and Jay will be back at the end of the week to catch up and round up all the latest Leeds United action. But in the meantime, I've been Stephen Brown. With me has been Jason Booker. Jason, thank you very much, mate.
Thank you, mate.
And we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.